Hey and welcome to this Aseprite tutorial. I would not consider myself as a pro pixel artist, but for my game, The Tower to God, I was somehow able to pull off some really great artworks, I think. So here they are. This is the first one, which is the cover. There you get also two artworks for the ending. This is the first one and this is the second one. And I just want to show you that there are some super simple techniques you can apply to your own workflow without getting way too nerdy into the tool. So let's go. Now we are here in Aseprite. Here are the artworks again. If you never touched Aseprite before, on the left side you see the colors or the color palette. Best is to start with a new file. We go up left here, file new, and then here we have the pixel sizes. Let's go by 64 by 64 in the beginning. You can the rest leave as it is, and let's go. Here you see your canvas. On the right side there are the tools. If you hover the single ones, you directly get a little explanation and the shortcuts, which is really useful. I would recommend to always search for shortcuts when you learn a new tool. You don't have to learn everything, of course, but for the most common use cases, like using a brush with B and erasing with E, is really useful and spares a lot of time. Here you have the layers. Currently we just have one layer, and you can also add frames. This is for animation. Here on the down right you can add a new frame, but we don't want that for this tutorial. Hit Ctrl Z and then we are back again at one frame and one layer. Here we see our current color selection. We can just simply change it here. Let's maybe use blue. And let's say we want to make the brush bigger. Here on the top you can go like for 10, and then we have a bigger brush. And the same goes when you hit E for the eraser, then it's 1 pixel again. We want to erase more, so let's do maybe 20 pixels. And there we go. I go back to 5 now. I change with B to the brush. And then let's start with some tips maybe. Especially on this artwork. For example, like I want to do the tower here in the front and paint a clean line with some interruptions. I can later add on from up to down. Then you hit like the mouse button one time on the place where you want to draw, and then you hold down Shift, and then you can just drag the mouse down. You can go diagonal or just straight down. This really helps a lot to draw clear lines. Just hold down Shift and there it goes. Later on, for detail, you can just erase here single stuff if you feel like to. So there we go. That's how I drew the tower in this artwork here. And what is also interesting, what I want to show you in this tutorial, is how I created the sky, and especially this color gradient thing here. I think there's a direct gradient tool here under this water drop gradient tool, shortcut Shift G, but that doesn't work like intended for me. So I didn't use that. I used my own solution. It's kind of a mix of this and that, and we get clear in a short time. Let's first move forward to a new shortcut, which is I. This is here. This is the eyedropper tool, or eyedropper, or just color picker. We just pick a color, we are clicking, and you see it changes here. If you like the color, then you can hit this explanation mark here. Add foreground color to the color palette. Let's click it. Then now we have it here. We can directly select it next time, which is super useful. Now I go back to B, which is the brush, and I change the picture. Oh, of course, I want the color here. That's the important one. And now let's draw. We can use Shift for a clean line, but I want it a little bit messy here. Maybe let's like this. Going for the next color, because what we are going to draw here is the sky, as you see it there. So yeah, like this. Then we go lighter. Of course, you can use your own colors if you feel to, and even lighter than that. Then we move on to the next color. Not as much as in the picture or in the artwork, but I think that's enough colors for just a showcase here. Yeah, maybe like this. Already not bad. But now let's hit R on our keyboard. And you see, this is a new tool. I just go to 10 pixels. It's easier to show. What I can here do is blur the whole stuff. But I want to go back and hit R again. Another new tool. And this creates this, yeah, it's too rough a little bit. I go back to 5 pixels and makes the lines or the edges more messy. Quite cool. I really like that. If you need some distortion and more variation for the eye, that's super useful, and I used it a lot here. You can see for the background especially, and also for the ground. And I also used it here and there for the trees. And now we want to make it a little bit more blurry, so it looks more like clouds. Of course, you can add, and that's just a simple trick, a more darker color from above to paint it here so it looks like clouds. We can do it too. Before we move on, make the brush size a little bit smaller. Maybe like so. And of course, they are also a little bit lit by the light. So maybe, oops, I go to 1 pixel in, not 12, 1 pixel size, and paint maybe the, oops, you can also here use or hold Shift for clear a line. That worked. Like so. Now we hit R. Oops, R again. And then we can move on and blur. Just hold your mouse down and go over the edges. And then it will blur. This is how I created the sky for that. And another useful tip maybe, if I don't like a specific color in the artwork or in the stuff I made and I just want to change it. Okay, so let's say I don't like the hair color of hair. I just want to change it. So I go to the eyedropper tool. I click on this color and then I go Shift R. This is the replace color option. So we see the current color and then I see where I can go to. And I can just pick stuff. Of course, I have to find the correct layer for her. Otherwise, it wouldn't do anything. Okay, I found the hair. Aislinn New, which is her name. And then you go directly to suggest something you picked in the background here. And of course you can, by clicking here, play around with all the stuff. But yeah. Super orange. Maybe like so. Yeah, you can mess around a lot here. Also not bad. But that wouldn't make sense. Here the hair in the back should be, of course, a little bit darker. There's no light. So yeah, when you're happy, you can just go with OK. And then you color swapped the whole thing. Super useful. And I used it a lot just to test colors here. It's super easy. And one more thing I want to show you is how I did these reflections here. Actually, that's super easy. I first, of course, have to find the layer, but I think, yeah, it's just here. There's the reflection. You can just select here by this rectangular tool here, shortcut M. You can just click on the outside and just, yeah, make it like in the Windows desktop option, you know this. Just make sure it covers the whole thing. Then you can also click and drag and move it around, but we don't want to do that. We just want to duplicate it. So Control, oops, I did the wrong thing here. Select it and then Control C, Control V, and there we go. We have a perfect copy. Okay, and what we can do is, I would not do it in the same layer. Yeah, so Control C, and then we can right click on our current layer, new layer, layer 1. By double clicking you can just, yeah, rename it. Okay, reflection, that's fine. And then we hit Control V. Hoppala. Okay, then we have it here. And of course you maybe saw it by clicking. I can also adjust the opacity here. This is important for the reflection too, but first I wanna switch here. I can flip horizontal and vertically. See, horizontal, and now vertically. There we go. So I just dragged it here, like, yeah, like so. Done. Double clicking, back to the opacity, and then lower it like to something like 16, something like that. Of course, you could also distort it a little bit, but I think it's better for readability, especially in this artwork, to not distort it. Yeah, and these were the simple tips and tricks I used for these artworks here. If you want to know more about the workflow, please tell me. I don't have like concept sketches made for this stuff. I built simple Blender scenes in 3D, which Blender 5.1, and I screenshotted then the angle from the camera view, and then I got a perfect concept art I could work with. I also placed lights in the scene and stuff like that. So that was super helpful. And by the way, Tower to God. There's another thing I wanted to mention, which is if you want to get a quick overview over the shortcuts, go to Edit and then to Keyboard Shortcuts here. It's a lot. I don't think you don't need to use everything, but if you like searching for something, then it's really helpful. And also you can go to help and then to the documentation. Of course, this is a little bit dry, but it's useful. It's not over bloated. And yeah, I used it a lot. Okay, now the last thing, Tower to God is a free dark fantasy platformer I'm going to release. So it's, yeah, free to play. Please wishlist it. It would help me a lot. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye bye.